It's finally free. No longer have a cast. It's been about a week now, and now I've only just had like the opportunity to kind of do a video on this, but I just wanted to kind of talk about my experience with breaking my wrist and kind of the things and takeaways that I learned about it, and also like some of the downsides that you don't think about that occur as a result of breaking your bone. And I think the wrist is like one of the worst bones in like your arm to break. Maybe apart from like your collarbone or like your ribs or whatever. But everything kind of revolves around the wrist. Like using your general hand and just having like that cast all the way up to my elbow because I broke the radius and the scaphoid in my hand. And as soon as whenever I would change off cast, I would realize how much it would hurt because when you have a cast, it immobilizes your wrist. And like, there's only so many things you can really do one-handed. Like, I wasn't able to work, I wasn't able to play guitar. At the end, I was able to game a little bit more and also play the piano, which was kind of nice. But basically, like, showering, I had to have a plastic bag over it and just hold it up and like wash myself with one hand. And like when you take the cast off, your hand is like so like disgusting. There's just like a build up of dead skin and like oils and stuff. And it's still kind of dry. You may not be able to see, but my hand is still, hopefully it like focuses. My focus is bad. But like you probably can't really see, but my hand is a little bit dry. But I've been using like moisturizer on it, jojoba oil, and it's kind of cleared up, but it looked really bad at the start. But I think it was kind of overall, like it's annoying because I'm not able to lift weights still. It still hurts. Like I've only just been able to start playing guitar in the first couple days. And even then I can play basic chords. I can't play bar chords. I can't spread out my fingers well enough. And if I twist my hand too much to the side, then it really hurts. And like the motion is so limited and it feels super weak. Like I couldn't open up like bottles of stuff. Like, you know, when you, like I had a protein shake thing that I was trying to open. I couldn't open it with my one hand. And so I had to do my old tactic of like putting it in my mouth, like biting it and twisting it. And those are the little tricks that you have to learn to be able to get by with one hand. So yeah, the annoying thing is that it takes so much longer to heal. Like you think, oh, broken bone, you wear a cast for like a couple weeks, then it's fine. For me, I was wearing a cast for a bit over 9 weeks, and that's because the scaphoid doesn't get a lot of blood flow, so it heals a lot slower. But you think, oh, after those couple weeks, you know, I'm fine, I'm good, I can go back. But I hadn't been using my wrist or my hand that whole time, so I lost a lot of muscle. And like the hand is so weak because I haven't been using it in so long. It's really weak and it's like clicky and I can't move the joint properly and it's like can't put pressure on it or anything. And it's going to take several months for me to build back up to being able to lift weights again, which is like kind of sucks because that's like one of my like main hobbies that I enjoy doing. And I'm going back to playing soccer, but the issue with that is that if I fall over and I land on it, then I could be fucked, to put it bluntly. And I'm not sure if it's more, I haven't actually researched whether it's more likely that it's going to break again. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more that it's weak and that I could injure the ligaments or the muscles or whatever just because it's weak and it's had that trauma already in that wrist. So yeah, that's something that you don't really realize is that it kind of puts you out in so many things, and then there's kind of like in the back of your head, it's like, I don't want to break a bone again. But as I said, for me, it was really nice to, well, it wasn't really nice. It was good to have the time to myself to kind of think about my life and realize like, just like that, I could have something taken away from me. I could have parts of my life taken away from me and I could be severely limited. And that was from doing something that I can enjoy doing. You know, at that time, you know, I was feeling kind of burnt out, but I was still kind of enjoying playing and doing the training and stuff. Like I chose to go to that game. I chose to drove the 2 hours to that game. And then unfortunately I ended up breaking my wrist at the end of that game. But as a result of that, I had to stop doing work, which was actually really a blessing because I realized how much it was draining and how much I was hating it. But also I realized like, as a kid, you just think, oh, it'd be so great to just eat whatever I want, do whatever I want all day, just play video games, whatever TV shows I want, and just wake up whenever I want and do whatever I want. And, at times that's nice, but it doesn't feel satisfying in the long term. It doesn't feel kind of realistic, and that same kind of unease and suffering is still kind of there in certain ways. And then you've got like the anxiety and the worry about, I've got to be making money, I've got to be worried about what I'm going to be doing next. Like if I'm not going to work this job, then what am I going to be doing? And it feels like everything's kind of up in the air. And for me, I've like hated working for so long, but my mum kind of made me do these kind of things. Like it's like, oh, this is how the world works. You have to keep doing these jobs. You have to keep going to school, even though I hated it. And I didn't really learn much from it. Just having those commitments, and sticking through them, yeah, that's like some show of grit, and I think that's like really strengthened me. But if you're making yourself do things that aren't making you happy and that are making your life worse, then like what's kind of the point of that? That's like the thoughts that are coming into my head at the moment, because I just hate like the working kind of industry and how it all kind of works around, and just not having to work and realizing how much better. I suffered a lot because like in my videos I talked about like I was going through a lot of kind of difficult kind of emotions. Like sometimes I go through these dark patches where it feels like all of the motivation, all of the willpower, all of the happiness in my life is just sucked out, and it feels hard to do anything. And I think that was a result of just being kind of burnt out doing these things that I didn't like, and like constantly doing this kind of cycle of things and not listening to what my body needed or wanted. But I think for me, I've got caught up in trying to be so perfect and trying to do things so well that I forget that, I ignore signals to my body like, oh, I just want to like chill out for a while, or I need some more time to sleep properly, or maybe I want to eat something that tastes a bit nicer rather than eating this like bland food every day. And I think that's totally fine. Like overall, my health is still going to be good, and it's better to eat the donut at the end of the day than to have that extra anxiety and stress in your body, I believe. Well, that's been my experience. Although it's like very hard to navigate the balance between that. Like, how do I balance between like eating healthily but like not pushing myself to the extent where I go too far? And that's kind of what I'm experimenting with at the moment. Like, in what areas do I allow myself to do more of what I want, and what areas do I need to discipline myself? Because you'd be actually surprised when you have, you think, oh, if you're not working, then you're just going to be lazy, you're just going to like play video games the whole time and do nothing. But I was still creating YouTube videos, even though I was feeling terrible. I was still cooking fairly often. When I had social events or I had friends around, I would go and do those things. And I was still creating music. I was learning about MIDI and piano stuff to kind of expand my knowledge of it, and help with my recording process when I was able to play guitar and that kind of thing again. And I was also writing stories. I submitted a short story to a competition. I don't know how it's gone, but honestly, I think the short story kind of sucks. But it was like fun to like write out that short story and like actually finish one, have something that was actually like realistic. I think the word count was only like 3,000 words, so it's like a super short story. Like you can just like read it in like 20 minutes or something, less than that. But that was kind of a nice process to do, and I did enjoy having that kind of commitment to writing. And I think it's something that I'd like to keep doing, but the thing with these creative things is like, well, AI is getting so much more popular, like AI music is so much more popular than releasing your own music. And that's something that I've found in myself. Like, even though I enjoy making music and I'm going to continue doing it, and I may continue writing books or whatever, and recording videos, me being honest and me creating these things that I enjoy for the sake of that, it isn't as popular as, you know, AI, which is a lot more perfected. I'm hoping that maybe it will shift. Like I've got an EP coming out soon. Wait, actually, I got to do a video for that. No, I'll just do a short. But yeah, actually, when this video comes out, my EP should be out, or should be around out, because I'm going to do this on the Saturday, and that's when my EP is coming out, Saturday the 13th, I think. If you're wondering why like the title and the artwork's a bit weird, it's because I was making kind of a joke with my old guitar teacher. You know, his single EP was like basically the same title and basically the same EP artwork. Same amount of songs. I was like, I'm going to copy the amount of songs he does. I'm going to almost copy his name, and I'm going to copy the artwork just because I think that's kind of funny. And because it's like, it doesn't really matter. This is just something that I'm kind of doing because I love doing, and because I want to stir him up as well, because he's fun to stir up, and he's a cheeky person as well. He'll love that. I hope he'll love that. Anyway, I realized, like, even though my music was so rough, that had a benefit even with this AI stuff, because then it means that it's more real. Like with my YouTube, I was like, oh, I want to go more in, I want to keep honest to myself. That's been my only kind of concept about this, is I want to feel like I'm being honest to myself in my life at the moment. And that sometimes means that you're not going to get views for the videos that you're making, because, you know, if you're on YouTube and you can see like, oh, I can watch this like funny, I can watch these funny cat videos, or I could watch this like young 20-year-old man talk about like problems about his life or whatever, and how he hates like the workforce and how it works, and wants to make money, but doesn't want to be like a slave to a job and to someone else's agenda, and just kind of trying to find your own way to make money working for yourself is so hard. But I think that I'm probably going to try and go down the creative path a bit more and try and earn some more money by doing that. I mean, that's the whole reason why I started this YouTube, and it hasn't really ended up being in that way, which has been frustrating at times, but then also, like, I'm such a diverse person. Like, I have such a range of interests and a range of things that I can talk about, and I have a lot of doubt with myself and my actions and what I'm going to do with my life. And I think that kind of puts some people off, because they watch a video and they really like it and it's about this topic, but then I go through another patch where I'm like talking about other things, and that may not resonate with some people. And I noticed that, I mean, it really shouldn't matter, because if I'm doing what I want, then that's the main thing, and then the people that connect with me will connect with me. But it is frustrating to see, like, when I'll have a video and then I'll see a spike in subscribers, and then slowly it'll like go back down, and then it will kind of fluctuate. And it's just kind of been sitting around 250 for like the last year or two. So maybe that's like a business bottleneck that I need to look at. But I mean, I don't really see this as a business. It's more of a documentation. It's more of a realistic, honest expression of myself through an online medium. And also in some ways, I kind of guess it's similar to, it's my therapy in a way. It's like my place where I can talk to this camera about whatever I want. because I don't always get that opportunities in life. And with the camera, you can talk about any of the things you want. You're not limited to any things. But that's like really been a bottleneck for some of my videos, because I'll talk about like things that people just don't want to listen to, or like be way too like open about my life and just talk about some things that are probably too personal to talk about, which isn't great. So I've tried having more and more of a boundary between those kind of things, like having a personal life but still being honest and expressive in these videos. I feel like I've kind of gone off topic, but then it is on topic, because all of this has had to do with like me thinking and like considering my life as a result of my broken wrist. I'll probably do some workout videos and talk about like my process of coming back, but I've like just had to start just doing very basic hand movements and wrist mobilizations, and it's just frustrating to think about how long it's going to take for it to get back, and how it's still sore and not working at how it was before. And just like realizing that I had lost about 10 kilos as a result of my wrist, because when I was like in that hard patch, I was kind of anorexic and I was barely eating food at all. And so I was losing about a kilo a week, which is like something that like fat loss people aspire to be. And that's like their goal, like, oh my God, if I could lose that, then my life would be so much better. But for me, I've always found it easy to lose weight. I've always been on the skinnier side. I've found it hard to gain muscle, but since having my broken wrist, I've realized like I've got to take a longer approach to it. I've got to take a more natural approach, because I was trying to do too much. I was trying to overcome my insecurities and overwork for how bad I felt about myself. Like, oh, I feel like I'm so far behind, so I feel like I have to catch up in so many things. And I think that's just like, as I've been talking about, it's like my disconnect with what I think about work, and how I feel like I've just been working for the sake of it, and then kind of burning myself out doing these kind of things, not enjoying it, and then like just getting caught up in that cycle. And this broken wrist kind of broke that cycle in a way. And it's not that I'm behind, it's just that I have different interests, I have a different kind of temperament, and I want to do things that feel right to me and that align with like my values. And that sounds like so silly when like I think I mentioned it to someone before, and like it seems so dumb to say that I'm going to stand by my values. Like it sounds like a really good thing, but when you tell someone like, oh, I was in this situation where I could have got what I wanted, but this person wanted something else, so then I let them get that something else so that I wasn't in the way of that. Whereas like, why didn't you just like say that you wanted that thing and then you could have got it? And it's because me wanting that thing would have got in the way of that person wanting something else. And so I would rather sacrifice myself for someone else to get what they want than for me to force myself to get something, but it to like compromise my values in a way, if that makes sense. I know it kind of sounds dumb, but that's how my brain works, and that's how I feel right living. Like I know that's right. Like I was going to make a video on this. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I watched the Obsession movie because I'd heard some good things about it, but mostly because I'd been in a similar situation. Like I felt like I connected with like that main character when I watched the trailer and heard about him. He was like a romantic. He had this kind of like idealistic vision of this woman, and then he made like a stupid wish. He wasn't able to express his feelings, so he made a stupid wish, and that actually came true. And then, this whole horror thing kind of turned out, and it wasn't what he expected it to be. She kind of turned a bit psycho. But watching that movie, I was like, as soon as he found out that if he had have killed himself, he could have stopped the wish and he could have saved her. I was like, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I would immediately do that. As bad as that sounds, like if you've fucked up in that way and you're going to ruin someone else's life, then you've got to take the responsibility for that and make sure that it turns out better. Because if you haven't watched it, this is a spoiler, so like skip this part if you want to watch Obsession. But if you're fine with it being spoiled and you kind of understand the things about me or whatever, she basically ends up killing her two best friends, and he ends up killing himself because, you know, she's like acting super crazy. Because so basically there's like four friends and they're like the main characters in the book. To be honest, they're all bad people. They've got no redeeming qualities. Like after I watched that movie, I was like, I didn't even like any of these characters. They didn't have any redeeming points. Like, oh god, like his friend was sleeping with the girl that he was crushing on, but he was helping him to try and confess his feelings to her. But he was like stitching him up and making him feel more insecure about himself. And sure, he was kind of way too romantic and idealistic about it, but he didn't help him like face that fear and like at least express himself open. Because if he had have done that in a kind of mature and open way, then they could have probably had like a decent relationship. And then his friend, his guy friend that was trying to kind of stitch him up in a way, it's very subtle, but he would have missed out on his girl that he was hooking up with, you know, this attractive girl that he was hooking up with. And then they had the third friend, which is the girl that is actually crushing on this guy that is, you know, makes the wish, the main character Bear. The moment that she decides to try and make it like a proper move on him, like she was properly supportive on him. She was like, oh, gives him a hug, like, oh, I'm so sorry your cat died. You know, and from that scene you kind of think, oh, why didn't they get together? Because they seem like a much better couple. But the thing about this guy, I'm going into a movie analysis now, so it's completely changed topics. But anyway, I'm just going to go with it. So he didn't like that girl that was more supportive of him because he had grown up in well, we don't know this, but I'm assuming this because he's someone similar to me. He grew up in a situation where his parents weren't as supportive and didn't give him the attention and love that he needed, and he felt like he was a bit of a waste of space in some sense. And so he would escape through kind of fantasies or through music, because he was actually a musician. They all work at a music store, which I was kind of surprised by. And maybe that was like his expression of seeing things or escaping things. I don't know, I'm just making observations from my own experience and what I've connected to with him. Bear, the main character. It's funny that we don't hear his actual name. But yeah, so he doesn't like her because he has this too romantic idea about love. He thinks that it's this amazing kind of perfect thing, and that's why he's so afraid to confess his feelings to her, because as soon as he confesses his feelings to her, it starts to become real, and he has to take responsibility, and he has to destroy those fantasies, and he has to deal with them and learn to be in a proper relationship, in a real relationship, which is something that's a bit more gritty and it's a bit more it's not as perfect as we think in movies or romantic. And that's kind of what he figures out in this movie when she starts, like, because he wishes that she loved him more than anything. The girl Nikki. I should have put names on this so it makes more sense. So Nikki's the girl that goes insane because Bear wishes that she loved him more than anything in the world, because, you know, he was going to confess his feelings to her. He was going to give her this wish stick as a kind of joke. And yeah, so she basically, it's like really creepy love, like that's why it's called obsession. See, I said it naturally, obsession. He's obsessed, she's obsessed with him. Oh my God. But like, her behavior is so creepy. It's like she loses part of her sanity. It's like her there's this scene, right? So this is going to set up my point. So there's this scene where she's asleep and he's going out of bed because he wants to meet this other girl that wants to talk to him, the other girl that I talked about that was seeming more supportive of him. And she chose, as I said, she chose a really bad time because, you know, she could clearly see that at the party she was acting not herself, like she was acting super creepy. And she wrote this, she was like reading this weird Gretel and Hansel poem about like this boy and this sister and like staring at Bear, and um, like it was just kind of weird. And then she like stabs herself in the head with a bottle, and then she's like, oh sorry, oh sorry, like she just like does those creepy things and then immediately snaps and then acts fine. But anyway, the point that I want to make is that he gets up and he's like trying to creep out, trying not to wake her up. And then she says something. She's like, Bear, and he's like, oh shit, she's woken up. That was my reaction as well. I was like, oh shit, she's woken up. No. But it was the real Nikki, and she said, she's asleep. Please kill me. And that shows that she is still in there. The real Nikki was still in there over the wish Nikki that I was taking over her. And so I think the creepy reactions that she had done, like cooking his dead cat and putting it in a sandwich for my food critic, because he wanted to be a food critic, Bear wanted to be a food critic. And that showed that the real Nikki was inside the wish one that was acting crazy. And I feel like that was her way of trying to exert control over the crazy Nikki, like saying, like, oh, he would really love if we did this. And she knew that that would freak him out because she wanted to freak him out to kind of force him to like, the wish Nikki thought that, oh, he'd pay more attention to me, he'll love me more, he'll see that I'm trying to make an effort for him. But the real Nikki knew that that would kind of creep him out. And so she was convincing and kind of fighting with him in this kind of view. This is my interpretation of it. I don't think anyone would see this and think that, but she was kind of like fighting with him to try and make him, you know, see. And I'm just thinking of that scene again, like where he was sneaking out and she was like talking. That was the only, one of the few real times when they were talking. The only time when she was under that spell where she was talking as Nikki, when the crazy one was asleep, the crazy Nikki was asleep. And she said, I have never been with you. Because he was like, is it that bad to be with me? She was acting fully crazy and she had to deal with the weight of that kind of thing. Like, it seemed like she was experiencing these kind of terrible things and stuck in this nightmarish world where she didn't have control of her body. I don't know how much she could actually see of it, how much she knew of it, but that would be horrific. And he just had no compassion and no real love for her to like think of what she was going through and to actually resolve that. You know, like he knew that if he had have died, that she would have been relieved of the curse and she could have had a better life. Like, sure, she would have had the pain of losing one of her close friends because she's told him, like, he was the only person that she could talk about these kind of things about. And when you have someone like that, they're very special to you. Like, they're rare to have. I just got to check if this is, because my storage sometimes just isn't great and my phone isn't the best. I've got to get a new camera or a new phone, but as you know, I haven't been working, and that's a whole other problem that I got to work out. But yeah, this has turned into an unscripted review of Obsession in the second half of the movie, so I'm going to have to like tab that part and kind of have it as a part of it as well. But yeah, so as I said, that girl that had a nice relationship with Bear that was more supportive, he didn't want to be with her because he had this romantic idealization about Nikki. But when he snuck out, that scene like really got to me. Like, I knew what was going to happen, but they made it so calm that that it like got me, it scared me, to be honest. But she chose that really bad time to like say like, oh, you should be with someone different, you know, like someone more calm and collected. And he's like, oh, like someone like you. And then that's when Nikki comes in and basically kills him. Uh, and he's just shocked, but it's like, obviously, like she's been acting crazy. Of course she's gonna like do that. Like, what were you like thinking? And like the girl that died, I forget her name. It was something like Sarah or I'm not gonna try and remember it because I'm gonna get it wrong. I watched it like 2 weeks ago. But she chose such a bad time because she could see that Nikki was going through a bad time and that they were having this weird relationship and that Bear had finally got what he wanted, but then she got in the way of that and then didn't want to help her friend at all. Like she didn't try helping her friend. And basically like Bear was supposed to kiss her at that party because kiss that girl rather than Nikki. And so Nikki got up and like moved her chair and then, you know, he had to kiss her instead. Because Nikki didn't want him to kiss anyone else. She was like terrified of that, the wished crazy Nikki. And then the guy, so the guy friend that was like stitching him up, like at the first scene, it's like him practicing with this girl about what he's going to say to her. And he's like making these comments, and sure, they make that he's right. He's being too mushy about it. He's being too romantic and idealistic about it and possibly a bit too selfish about it. Like, sure, you should express yourself, but in those situations, you don't want to express too much. You don't want to be too forward at the start because you're still maintaining a relationship. And if that's something that you want, then you've got to maintain it in like a healthy kind of more natural way rather than trying to force this idea of what you want it to be. And that's why it can be so scary for people like Bear and me that have way too high expectations and these big fantasies about it. And so like we think about these perfect scenarios rather than accepting things for what they are. Anyway, so not only does he kind of stitch him up there, what's his name? It's like gone. Anyway, so not only is he doing that and he's sleeping with the girl that Bear is in love with, Nikki, before she's crazy, he thinks that she's doing this dating thing with Bear to kind of get back at him, whatever. And yeah, so he's kind of obsessed about that. But then also, when Bear comes to him and tells him the truth, you know, although it's crazy, although it seems out of this world, like this wish stick, one wish willow is like real. He's like, no, it's not. But he doesn't even wish to help his friend Bear. He's like, I wish for $1 billion. And then $1 billion like falls down and they're just like, he's like shocked. And then Bear's just like, you idiot, I can't believe you did that. But so then he goes to his last resort, which is going back to Nikki and trying to get her to wish that for that thing. But she's brought in the girl that she killed. She's brought her into the house and like having her sit down on this chair, which is like it just shows how messed up this crazy Nikki was really. But like they're having this big fight and then that guy comes around and he's like, what the hell is going on in here? Because now he's like, the wish thing is like true because he's just got this $1 billion when he snapped it. And he's like, you know, worried and concerned, like what the hell is happening? He's hearing this fighting or whatever. He walks in and Nikki just straight up just like shoots him in the head. So there's 2 dead people in the house and then he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. He locks himself in the bathroom and you know, he's with the gun and he's gonna shoot himself. He's like thinking about it because he's sick of having to deal with this like crazy girl that he's created in essence. He's created this situation. And so he decides to end it, but he takes pills, but then you hear the noise of the wish. And she's wished that you don't hear it, but you've assumed that she's wished that he loves her as much as she loves him in that moment. So they're both like crazy, and then they come together in this moment, but then, you know, he's taking these pills, he's taking too much of these pills, and then he dies, basically. And then she's about to kill herself, but then she realizes, she snaps back, the wish comes off, and then she has to come back to the reality that she's in the house with these 3 dead people. Her 3 best friends have all died. And that's just like such a great ending to the film, but it's also like a really extreme kind of version, you know, like these people don't really have many redeeming qualities, to be honest. You know, Nikki's probably one of the nicest ones, but she acts the most crazy because she has the wish. I also wanted to say, I should have said this at the start, but the cinematography for Obsession was really good. Like the shots, the lighting, the acting was amazing. I think, yeah, the acting was amazing, the scenes were amazing, the composition was amazing. The story was kind of a bit questionable, to be honest. Like his cat getting into the pills, the sleeping pills to kill itself, like I don't know how the hell, like why a cat would do that. Like I have a cat, I've had 2 cats, and my cat would never just like, it wouldn't like claw into pills and then like start taking them. Like that's kind of questionable, but then it's like, okay, that's a part of the movie, whatever. And then also like the whole question, another questionable part of the story is like why she is acting so crazy. Like why does she lose her sanity when she loves him? Like if she only loves him, like that was a wish that he made, that she loved him more than anything in the world. Like you'd think, oh yeah, she'd act basically the same, but she'd just prioritize him over everything. You know, she wouldn't start cooking up a cat and putting it in a sandwich, and like it makes sense that she'd think about killing people if he was going to be interested in someone else. Like that would make sense, but you think if she still had some rationality to her, that wouldn't be an option. But this is a horror movie, so of course it's like that's a major point to making it more horrific and more scary. And also, as I said, like the points about the characters don't really have any good redeeming qualities about them. Like they make really questionable decisions. They have their problems. Like I thought I would have liked the movie a lot more than I did. It wasn't as great as I thought it would be. I'm kind of glad I watched it, but I don't think I'd ever watch it again. I'm not sure if I'd even recommend it to someone unless they were similar to me and where they were overly romantic and thinking about like they were too obsessed with someone and they had these kind of too romantic ideals about love and what it is, and they needed like a wake-up call to think about being more compassionate and thinking about the other person as a real person and actually creating a more natural and better relationship. Because it's not to say that the person of your obsession is not the wish obsession. Like it's not to say that Bear and Nikki couldn't have a good relationship. I honestly think that if the car scene where he's like, you've got to tell me now, like whether you have feelings for me. Like if he had have admitted to that, I feel like they had a chance of having a decent relationship if he was willing to work through some things, if he was willing to accept things and kind of realize his fantasies weren't going to be realized, and that she's just a person, you know, as amazing as he thinks she is. You know, like sure, she's an amazing person, but you've got to also be realistic about like she's going to have flaws. She's a human being, you know, she's going to have her own struggles and whatever. And that's like a part of navigating a relationship. That's the part that he has to resolve, or he had to resolve to kind of get it to work. Because there definitely were signs that she liked him. You know, she was like, oh, you know, please come to the trivia night. You know, we're going to miss you. I want you to be there. You know, obviously she called him a lot and she said like, I'm able to talk to you about anything. But also the problem with that is that for girls, maybe some of the time they see that as just someone being your friend, you know, a good friend. Whereas when it's a guy, when you create those connections, those strong connections, it's very hard for you to not develop feelings for that female. Like, you know, I have a lot of female friends, and the best ones are usually the ones that you're not as attracted to, because then it doesn't make it as complicated about being friends with them or whatever. But when you're attracted to them, it makes it really awkward, because then there's this friendship, but then there's also this part where like feelings develop when you get strongly connected to someone, which like it can turn out okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like if it happens, it happens. But yeah, if you're like there, it can turn into a very bad situation. Let's just say that. So this video turned into like a really long rant about an obsession. It's just started with my broken wrist. I don't know, I could move it into 2 videos, but maybe I'll have to move it into 2 videos, to be honest. No, I'm just going to keep it as it is, because that's natural, and I didn't have an ending for it. That'd be weird if the first video didn't have a proper ending. But yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk about obsession and romantic attachment and movies and that kind of thing. Yeah. Have a great day. I don't think you've watched this far though, but thank you for watching if you did. A freak 41 minutes.